With Huawei largely out of the running in the Europe and in the US, Xiaomi has swooped in and it is now saturating as much of the market as it possibly can. You'll notice that in the Xiaomi Mi 11 series alone, there are 8 phones. That is insane. So then, what is the Mi 11i and how does it differ from other Mi 11 devices? Crucially though, should you be buying one? Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas and this is my review of the Xiaomi Mi 11i. Before we get into detail, I want to take some time to compare the Mi 11 to the Mi 11i. To cut a long story short, the Mi 11i has the same flagship processor, RAM and storage as the Mi 11, but has a very slightly smaller battery, a slightly dimmer screen, a cut down camera stack, and is built into a more cost-effective chassis with a flat display and thicker bezels. Pricing is rather hard to find online, to be honest. I had a hard time trying to find it. It's around £700, given different regions give or take around £100, which puts it about £100 less than the Mi 11, the normal one, and for that obviously you're getting a more cut down phone than the Mi 11. That does though put it in contention for your next phone with sort of the iPhone 12 mini, the OnePlus 9, the Galaxy S21 on a deal, that kind of thing. So just have that in mind when we go through the review. The Mi 11i is made out of glass and metal. It feels very well built with no rattles nor creaks, but has a huge and thick camera bump on the back. It only has 3 cameras in it, so to call it excessive is probably quite an understatement there. This thing feels huge, and maybe that's because I've got more used to sort of the Pixel 5 and the Galaxy S10, but yeah, this thing with its 6.67 inch 1080p 120Hz display just feels massive. It might feel normal to a lot of other people, but compared to this, to like an iPhone 12 Pro Max, and it feels still very big, which is worrying for a lot of people. The OLED screen looks and feels very impressive. It's a very solid display for a device at this particular price point. It gets very bright, you can adjust the refresh rate from 60 to 120 Hz, and it feels incredibly responsive due to that high refresh rate. There's also a center place punch hole which I think looks really clean, and the larger bezels aren't that distracting, to be honest. I do prefer this flat screen than the curved one, but that's more of a subjective thing. Ergonomically, if you have smaller hands, you will struggle to touch all of the corners, but a display at this size is pretty much ideal for watching sort of YouTube, Netflix, because it's so big and you feel so immersed. It's not quite as crisp as a Quad HD screen at this size, but personally, I'd go Full HD anyway because it adds battery life and good performance. Speaking of which, the Mi 11i showed no struggles in either of those categories. The 4520 mAh cell in this thing with 33-watt charging is more than adequate, and it got me through 2 full days. I actually switched this thing full time, was really hammering it, and it lasted me well over a day and a half of just sort of hammering the phone. But with my more relaxed style, as I've said before, I sit at a computer all day, so I tend to use that for sort of social media and stuff. This thing lasts me easily 2 days. And performance, well, I mean, it's got a Snapdragon 888. That's like the fastest Qualcomm chipset at the moment, 8 gigs of RAM. It's fast. There's no getting around that, especially with its 120Hz display as well. It feels really, really fast, and probably will do for the next 2 or 3 years. MIUI 12 based on Android 11 is what you'll find on the Mi 11i. What does this mean? Well, that you get the latest and greatest software version with a pretty good skin. I mean, MIUI has come on leaps and bounds in the past couple of years. I don't think it's quite at the level of One UI or Pixel Experience, but it's still pretty good. There is a lot of bloat when you first, set the phone up. Now that might seem quite daunting. However, you can uninstall the majority of it. I mean, pretty much everything you can either uninstall or you can disable. Most of it is actually uninstallable though, which is fantastic because, it's great that it comes with all this stuff for some people who want that, but for the majority of us, we just want our own apps on there, and getting rid of them is pretty easy. Onto the cameras, this one is probably the biggest area of a modern smartphone, and it's probably one of the biggest areas that Xiaomi has cut corners to keep the price down. The 2 main cameras, the 108 megapixel rear and the 20 megapixel front, are pretty good, to be honest. The main rear camera has a huge sensor with a huge resolution. It's very impressive. However, the two additional rear cameras, namely the 8 megapixel ultra wide and 5 megapixel telemacro camera, really aren't as good. They're not as high quality due to poorer sensors and poorer optics used. When it comes to the samples, I have to say I'm pretty impressed. Sure, the oversaturation and overprocessing might annoy some, but I happen to quite like the splash of colour, and also a lot of people are going to be viewing these images on sort of smaller screens, so it's not going to be as much of an issue as if you put it on like a big 50-inch TV or something like that. If I had to rate the quality out of 10 with the Pixel 5 and iPhone 12 Pro Max at 10 and a Potato at 0, this is a 7 or 8 for its main camera. It's pretty good, but of course without a solid suite of quality cameras, you really can't compare the Mi 11i to those other devices. In low light, the Mi 11i does really struggle due to its processing and its overzealous use of noise reduction. As for portrait mode, the processing is also a weak point in this. Images don't look awful by any means, but the computational photography is what differentiates a good smartphone camera from the best of the best. In this regard, Google, Samsung, Huawei and Apple are leading the charge. The Mi 11i's cameras, overall, are decent, but nothing that will blow you away. For £700, and given the rest of the device, I'd call them more than enough to justify buying it. Which brings us on to the question of the hour. Should you be buying a Mi 11i? Now, if you can actually find one in the first place, then, maybe you have the option there. But for a lot of us, in a lot of different regions, finding one of these as opposed to like a Mi 11 normal, like standard Mi 11, is going to be pretty tricky. Now, it does have some very, very stiff competition, namely the iPhone 12 mini, the OnePlus 9, Galaxy S21. Those are all phones that I personally would buy over this. Now, maybe it's because this is a very specific phone. It's for people who want speed, 120Hz display, Snapdragon 888. It's a very fast phone and it's got good battery life and a decent charging as well. But I actually value the cameras a lot more than I think Xiaomi put effort into making this camera good. I know that sentence doesn't make a lot of sense for most of you, but some of you will understand what I mean there. There doesn't seem to be a lot of emphasis on the cameras, and that's the main corner cutting piece, which for people who don't actually care about cameras is ideal because you're essentially getting a Mi 11 for £100 off. That's fantastic. However, for those of us who do care about cameras, this is going to be a bit of a worry. If you're just using the primary camera, you're fine, like the quality is probably about as good as a Mi 11 anyway, so you're getting a high quality main camera. However, the additional cameras leave a lot to be desired. So yes, buy it if you don't care about the additional camera suite. Don't buy it if you care about the additional camera suite. And that about rounds out today's video, guys. Xiaomi sent this one out for me to review, but didn't see this video before you guys, so it's all going out at the same time. It's not a sponsored video or anything like that. No affiliate links to it in the video description. I want to give a massive shout out to my patrons, and if you do want to be a Patreon supporter or you want to check out my social media, all the links will be in the video description as they normally are. Please do like, comment and subscribe if you're new around here to never miss a video like this one. I've been Ron Thomas and I'll catch you later. Peace.